Hey y'all, good to see you. I've been not playing the intro because somebody was like, that's a horrible intro for such a horrendous crime. So I'm gonna play the outro when it's time. Lord have mercy. Hold on. I'm trying to get it pulled up. I don't want to put the background up because I'll just have to take it right off. Y'all, I made like I think it was November or December of last year, I made dandelion soap because a lot of people like dandelion. It's really good for the skin and things like that, right? And I used my loofah gourds in it. And like I cut it in slices and I just grabbed some of it to wash my hands because after I made the kids lunch, I walked up to the garden and pulled a few more weeds. And that soap with the loofah gourd, like the slice of loofah gourd sponge in it, was just so amazing. Like my hands are so soft. I'm gonna have to. I really want to make a video showing y'all how to make soap with goat's milk. Like I've got a bunch of it because you have to freeze the goat's milk first. So I've got a bunch of it in the freezer. I want to show y'all how to do it, but having the space, because as I've told y'all, I live in a very, very, very small house. So having the space and ability to do it is an issue. But I want to make a video showing y'all I make this soap that's for poison ivy, poison sumac, and poison oak. I'm just, chit-chatting. Good to see y'all, Indy, Chaz, Bad Girl, Cara, Lisa, Lynn, Fawny Donnie. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for coming back. So I make this soap that's like, okay, so we have this stuff here. It's called Carolina Trumpet Vine. Hey, Southern Cats. Hey, Jenny Jen. While we're waiting, I'll show it to you real quick. So this stuff is called, they call it Carolina, Carolina. But it's also known as cow itch, okay? And it grows underground. Like it's a vine and it'll grow underground and it'll go for like 10 feet underground and then pop up somewhere else. Like you can see right here, it's vining and growing on this pine tree. It's also known as cow itch. Okay, let me show y'all what cow itch does. It's all over the woods here. Like there's not much on cow itch. I found one blog last year when I got it and I was like, that's what the pods look like. And it's Carolina Trumpet Vine, okay? It's like worse than poison sumac, poison ivy, and poison oak. Lord have mercy. And anyway, so I found this plant that grows here. It's called, okay, so there's lady fingers and lady thumbs. One is okra. One is the name for okra. And then one is this other plant that grows wild out here. And I looked up this plant, and the Cherokee indigenous people would use it to treat poison ivy. They used ladyfingers. They would make a poultice out of it and put it on the wound. Okay. So, or, where you were itching. So I made soap with the lady. When you make soap, you put oil and then you can like put in whatever medicinal plant you want. You put it in the oil when you're heating up the oil to make the soap. So I did that, and I put the plant ladyfingers, I do believe is what it is. I put it in the oil, and then I made the soap. And this soap, as soon as I go out in the woods and I know I've got contact with cow itch, if I wash my hands with the soap or wash wherever it's touched me at, it goes away and it doesn't come back. And like, I've never found anything that works as good as the soap I make. Like, I am going to show y'all. So I want to do a video showing y'all how to make that and how to identify the plant that I use so you can make some for any kind of things you have like that around you. And then some dandelion soap. Hey, Cracker Jacks. Hey, Michael. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are we ready to proceed? We have a witness on the stand. We'll bring the witness back on the stand.
Yes.
Yeah. We're at just 5 minutes. It was Picarelli. Good to see y'all. Thank y'all for coming back. Girl, sometimes I'll try to take a nap, but
Yes, please.
it never works for me.
Sir, come on. We'll have you retake the stand, okay? Just watch your step. Yes, please. Just would like to remind you, sir, you do remain under the obligations of your oath that you took when you entered the witness stand, okay? All right, we can bring the jury in, Madam Clerk.
He does, doesn't he, Lisa? Oh my goodness. That's crazy, Vonnie.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Counsel, please stipulate to the return of all of our jurors.
Hey, Brenda.
All right, why don't we continue on with the examination? Thank you.
Thank you. I think I was up front.
You were.
Thank you. Mrs. Picarelli, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Thanks for being here with us. Have you ever testified before?
No.
First time, huh?
Yes.
Everyone treating you okay?
Yep.
That's good. All right. I just want to run through the events that you testified to
Oh,
on direct
wow.
examination this
Gotta be
morning,
careful.
as well. And and I also have the records of your interviews and such, okay?
Okay.
So see if it's consistent with you. And we'll start off with the easy thing. You and your wife own the property at 6.5 Myrtle?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it looks like on Tuesday, December 3rd, you spoke with a detective by the name of Detective Esposito from the Ansonia Police Department.
Correct.
Is that correct? Do you know Detective
Yes.
Esposito?
Yeah.
You knew him before that?
No.
No,
I did
that
not.
was the first time?
Yeah.
Okay, and just tell us, how was it that you came back to speak with Detective Esposito?
He came. We got a phone call that everything had happened Tuesday morning, and he, throughout the whirlwind process that was, he started talking. He interviewed me.
Sure. You were the property owner, and they were
Right.
doing an investigation,
Right.
right? And you didn't know anything about the specifics
No.
of what they were investigating?
No.
Yeah, okay. And then, do you remember, did Detective Esposito come to you over at Valley Motorsports or your home, or did you go to him? Do you recall?
I went to the police department.
Okay, all right. And you certainly recall speaking with him?
Correct.
All right, great. And when you were speaking with him, you told Detective Esposito that you were working on Friday, 11/29/2000. Let me just finish because we can't talk at the same time. You originally told him you were working on Friday, 11/29/2019, downstairs in the garage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. And just so we're all oriented, Friday was the day after Thanksgiving.
Correct.
Okay, great. And you were cooperative with the officer at that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you told him that you heard footsteps upstairs, correct?
Correct.
Right? And you told him that you heard a male voice. Is that correct?
I don't recall the male voice at the time right now. No.
Okay. You don't recall if you told the officer that
Yeah,
you heard
that,
a
correct.
male voice. He'll be in here to testify as well, so it's fine. Do you recall telling the officer that you had last
Here's a
seen
classic one.
Christine Holloway when she paid the rent on November 15, 2019?
My wife handled getting the rent payments. I did not.
Okay.
So I do not recall that.
You don't recall telling that to the officer?
I do not.
Okay, all right. And then, let's see if we can walk through here from Tuesday, which was the 3rd. Your mom and you went to the Ansonia Police Department. it sounds
Correct.
like, Right? And that was in the afternoon. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. And your mom is Lori.
Yes.
Did you come here together with your mom?
Yes.
Yeah, she's here to testify today too, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you met with Detective Brian Hart at that point. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And both you and Mom went, and did you meet them in the lobby, or did you meet them in the detective bureau or an interview room?
I think we met them in the lobby.
In the lobby, okay. And was Mom with you?
Yes.
Did they separate the two of you, or were you interviewed together, if you recall?
I don't recall whether we were separated or interviewed together.
Okay, all right. And when you went to the Ansonia PD, you had some material changes to your story in regard to when you were at 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you originally told them that you were there on Friday, and then you said you...
Hey, Orange Rose. And Fawny, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate that. She said, now I know where I recall the witness, the Guess Who game. Oh my God, you're so right. He is in the Guess Who game. Oh my God, I'm going to have to write it down. And after court, we're going to have to look that up. That you are right, 100%. He is. He 100% is. That is crazy. Thank you for the support. That is crazy now that you said that.
You went to the garage on Sunday, 12/1,
Oh, I'm sorry,
not
Ari.
Friday, 11/29.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
You can email
And
me too.
what time, if
Me
you
too.
recall, did you go to the garage area of 6.5 Myrtle on Sunday, 12/1?
Between 2 and 6 p.m.
Okay. And was Mom with you then?
Yes.
Okay. And you were downstairs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you told the officers that you didn't recall hearing hammering noises upstairs. Is that correct?
I did not hear hammering noises. I heard what sounded like furniture movement.
Okay, right. I was just going to ask you that, but your recollection is when you were downstairs working in the garage that you heard furniture moving. Is that right?
Correct.
And you were doing woodworking downstairs,
Yes.
and you were using power tools like saws and such.
Correct.
Okay. I may have missed this just in general. What were you doing on the afternoon of Sunday, December 1st, down in the workshop?
Working on cutting wood, building that Honda sign.
Okay, and was Mom with you?
Yes.
Was she helping out as well?
Yes.
That's terrific. Now, sir,
name
one of the
here,
reports indicated,
right?
or maybe you even testified to that back then you were smoking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you recall going outside of the garage area when you would smoke?
I don't per se recall a specific instance, but I would smoke inside, smoke outside.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't only smoke outside.
Okay.
So-
Do you recall telling Detective Hart that it was your habit to smoke outside?
I don't recall that, but I very well could have.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Hey, it's 5 years ago. It's okay. Sir, when you were outside, would you agree with me that the adjoining property is 6 Myrtle Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know Mr. George O'Meara that
Yes.
lives there? Okay.
Yeah.
Just back up for a second. How long was it that you and your wife, Carrie Watson, owned the property at 6.5?
Since 2018.
In 2018. Okay, so we're in 2019 that we're talking about now. So you had it for about a year at that point?
I'd say less than a year.
Less than a year. Okay, that's fine. But you had occasion to meet the next door neighbor, Mr. O'Meara, for example?
Yeah, we would say hello to each other.
Sure, yeah. Well, you're good neighbors, right? Residential area.
Right.
Okay, terrific. Now I'm going to ask you specifically on Sunday, when you were with Mom, okay.
So I do believe he was there Sunday night or Sunday afternoon from 2 to 6.
Okay, in the downstairs garage bay area working. Did you recall anyone leaving the next door neighbor's house at 6 Myrtle in the afternoon time?
No,
You
I
didn't
don't recall that.
You don't recall seeing anyone then? Okay, great. Now, when you were with Mom on Sunday and you said you heard furniture moving, did you go upstairs and see if there was anything going on?
I never went inside that apartment while they lived there.
Okay, not one time ever?
No.
Including this time frame of December of 2019?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct.
Now, I'm just going to go forward a little bit, okay? We were talking about, you went to the Ansonia Police Department, you talked to them about being at the property, and then it looks like on Thursday, December 5th, you had gone and spoke to an officer, John Fitzgerald. Do you remember that?
Yes, they called me and asked me to go down to the police department for another interview.
Okay, all right. And did you go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Right, and you told the officers the same thing when you went down to the police station, that you recall hearing the furniture moving upstairs?
Correct.
Right, okay, no problem there. Do you recall having a concern, sir, with the property that the lights and the heat were on at one
Yes.
point? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, you just tell us in your own words, you went back to the property to see if you could get in the property to adjust the heat.
I wanted to turn down the heat in the garage, and I wanted to shut the lights off in the garage, and I would ask to have the windows closed in the apartment.
Yep. Totally fine. Would you agree with me at the point that you went there on Thursday, December 5th, the house was still secured by the police department?
That's what I was told, yes.
Right, I mean, you couldn't just walk.
No, I was not allowed on the property.
Not allowed on the property?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you went there and you made a reasonable request and said to the officer, hey, would there be any way that I could get into the garage and turn down the heat and
Right.
turn the lights off? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that was a patrol officer that was stationed there to make sure that nobody went into the property?
Yes, it was on the driveway side of the property
Okay,
that I spoke with the officer.
okay. And you spoke to the officer at that time, correct?
Yes.
Right, okay. And while you were waiting to see whether or not you could get in to just go ahead and turn the heat down or turn the lights down, you chatted with the officer, correct?
I don't recall what I said, but I would, yeah, I wanted to walk up the property.
Right. Let's do it this way. The officer had to check with his supervisors. He didn't have authority to let you into the building.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I take it you went there, you made the request, hey, I own the property, can I get in there and turn the heat down? And the officer would have said, I gotta check with my supervisors.
Yes.
Right? And you were waiting there with them.
Correct.
Okay, we're doing fine, okay? And do you recall telling the officer that Christine Holloway lived in the apartment for about a year and a half?
I would say that's a fair estimate, yes.
Yeah. And you only had 5 or 6 interactions with Miss Holloway?
I would call it a handful.
Yeah. Okay. And you told us, right? Your wife Carrie was responsible for the
She
rest.
handled that aspect.
So yeah, he owns the property and he just uses the garage downstairs. I take it he lives somewhere else. So he used the 3-car garage thing to do his stuff for his business that he owns, and he rented the apartment upstairs to Christine.
She took care of that.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Aw,
You
cracker.
told the officer, that, for example, at that point, back in December of 2019, that you had never gone up to the apartment.
Correct.
Okay. And you told Officer Fitzgerald, as you told Attorney Stein, there was no access from the garage up to the apartment.
Correct.
Okay, terrific. And you told the officer that the furniture noise, the loud noise that you heard didn't concern you at that point.
It was enough to have me stop using the tools that I was using and say, geez, that's a lot of commotion upstairs.
There was a lot of noise.
Right.
Right? Okay. But it wasn't to the point that you decided to go upstairs and check.
No.
No.
But I wouldn't, no.
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 And you didn't pick up the phone and call the police department and say, hey, I heard loud noises upstairs. It's concerning.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. Okay. And then I just want to tighten this up. We're just about done. So it seems that you went there on Thursday to go ahead and turn the heat down and turn the lights, whatever you thought, close the windows, whatever you thought was appropriate at the property.
So Genevieve, most places, you can go in the property, without the permission of the tenant. But if you're like snooping through their shit and things like that, you could get in trouble. But yeah, that's how it is in most places. Hey, Robin. We watched some highlights from Lori Daybell yesterday. It's pretty interesting. Hey, Thea. My sister puts a fan backwards in the kitchen window. She sits there and the fan blows the smoke out the window. That's a good idea too. Yes, this is the owner. He said him and his wife own it. Absolutely not in California. Like, oh, okay. Him and his wife own the property. He uses the 3-car garage downstairs to work on like dirt bikes, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, things like that for his business, which is a motorsports place that he owns. And there is no access from the garage to the upstairs unit. There was at one time, but the staircase was taken out, and he rented it to Christine. He was there Sunday from 2 to 6 approximately, and he heard what sounded like furniture being moved upstairs.
Would you agree with me that it looks like maybe around 7 o'clock that night that you got the green light to go ahead and unlock the door to allow the officer to go in and turn the heat down and turn the lights down?
It was dark out. I don't recall what time it was.
Oh, I mean,
But-
it wasn't midnight. Right?
No.
All right. It gets dark early in December, right? Okay.
Correct.
Right? And at no time while you were there at the property, had you ever heard things like screaming, for example?
No.
No, okay. Yelling?
No.
No. And you never called the police, and you never went in the apartment?
No.
Hey, thanks for your time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
What's the sidebar? If she goes to break, I will lose my ever-loving mind. She's doing good today. Maybe she heard us complaining.
Could you do me a favor? Could you just adjust that light so it's not on the Alma?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
You know, Lisa Lynn, that might be what it is
I
too.
appreciate that.
Maybe.
I want to show you,
Bonnie, you're so funny. 24 or 48 hour notice. It might be that way in most places. I don't know.
What number is that?
167.
Goats are bleating.
Thanks so much. Your Honor, the state just showed me exhibit number 167. I have no objection.
All right, with no objection, court will accept into evidence states 167 full.
Mr. Picarelli, I just want to show you a quick picture. 165 is a full exhibit in this case. This is a picture that was identified as a photo of Mr. Morales. Are you able to see that picture?
Yes.
Now, I asked you earlier on your direct about your hair, your facial features and your hair back in 2019.
Michael, right? Hey, Lala.
Well, I asked you, was your hair, I mean, it used to be redheaded or ginger colored?
What?
I'd say, would you agree with that?
Yes.
And your hair
Lala comes in with the reminder to hit the thumbs up, please, and thank you, sweetheart.
appears right now today in 2025 is short.
Correct.
Was it similarly short in 2025?
Yes.
I'm sorry, 2019.
Y'all are so
Yes.
funny.
And now this bit here that you have, did you have that in 2019?
No, I had a little bit down here and then the mustache.
Okay. Can I show you what has been marked as states 167? Do you generally recognize who this handsome fellow is?
That is myself.
Okay. And is that appeared to be the way you appeared in 2019?
Correct.
So if I zoom back out, Your Honor, here's the button. So I would point out to the court in this full exhibit that this is appears, as we've seen from previous exhibits, to come from a body camera recording. Do you know when you were talking with officers of Mr. Picarelli whether you were being recorded by body camera? Do you know?
I was aware.
And do you believe that there are any similarities between you in 2019 and Jose Morales in 2019?
I would say that we are not overly similar, no.
Nothing further.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you.
We tried to say it was the landlord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on now.
Thank you.
All right, state would like to call its next witness, please.
Lori Piccirillo.
Thank you.
The bad guy from Clue. That's funny. He appears to be taking an active part in his defense. In my rental contract, it is stated that I do not need permission to enter for weather, utility, outage, maintenance, or suspicion of unlawful activities. Binding contract when they sign. That's what most of them say, I think. I wonder if this is his mama.
Good afternoon. If you could just remain standing for a moment, Madam Clerk is going to put you under oath, okay?
Miss
Thank you.
Picarelli,
Please raise your right hand.
I'm wondering.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and state your address for the record, please.
He is a mama's boy. He's playing tic-tac-toe. He probably is. They do.
Hi, Mrs. Picarello. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's what I thought.
First of all, you see that mic right in front of you? Can you kind of pull that up towards your mouth a little bit, or slide yourself
You
in a
looks
little
like
bit?
her.
Okay.
You're really soft-spoken.
Thank you, bad girl.
And I'm very deaf, so
Okay.
if you can keep your voice up for us, that would be very helpful. Okay? Can I get a 1, 2, 3 testing?
1, 2, 3.
One more time.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, is that good?
better?
Can
Yeah.
we
Okay.
kind of keep it there? Great. All right. So, that handsome fellow who just walked out of the courtroom, who was that?
That was my son, Christopher.
All right. And I want to ask you whether Christopher is married,
Yes, he is.
and what is his wife's name?
Carrie.
And do they own a piece of property in Ansonia, Connecticut?
Yes, on Myrtle Street.
Okay. Would it be 6.5?
6.5 Myrtle.
Okay. And did they own it back in December of 2019?
Yes.
Oh,
And I
wow.
want to call your attention to the weekend just following Thanksgiving of 2019 and ask whether, well, first of all,
This is Mrs. Picarelli, the landlord's mother. Remember, he said that his mother was with him while he was in the garage area working, and he stopped the table saw and looked at her and was like, dang, that's some loud noise coming from up there. His mother was with him while he was working, so.
are you aware, does your son sort of have any access, or does he maintain anything at that property?
Well, he maintains practically the whole property. Well,
Okay.
the-
Not sort of not cutting the grass, but I mean, does he have any sort of a business, or does he operate out of that building at all?
No business. He has a shop downstairs.
Okay, so he has a workshop downstairs. Okay, where downstairs? Is it
Where the 3 bay garage is,
okay?
directly underneath the apartment.
Very good. So under the 3 bay, under the apartment at the 3 bay garage, Chris has a shop there, right? All right. So, does Chris go to the shop sometimes to do work there?
Yes,
Okay.
he does.
And I want to call your attention to that weekend following Thanksgiving weekend. Do you recall, did you go with Chris to the shop that weekend?
Yes, that Sunday afternoon he came and picked me up.
Okay.
Yes.
So now I just want to kind of back up for a second and say you just told us Sunday afternoon. And do you know if that was December 1st of 2019?
Yes.
Okay. The Saturday before the day before would have been November 30th, and the day before that, Friday, would have been November the 29th. Did you go
I
with him
agree.
at all on Friday or Saturday?
No.
Okay.
Because we had, okay. Yeah.
So you just went Sunday. All right. So now, do you recall when you approximately what time you got to the garage on Sunday?
Say 2 o'clock-ish or around there.
Okay. And do you know when you left?
Around 6.
Okay. Now, this is 5.5 years ago. That's a long time
Yeah.
ago, right? And you seem very certain about the dates. Is there a reason why I'm sorry, about the times. Is there a reason why you're very certain about the times?
Because it was sort of, yeah, he picked me up in the afternoon and we went, and then it was snowing out sort of, and so we were done with what we had to do, so.
Do you recall at some point looking back at your cell phone to determine times that you were at the property?
No, I don't do that.
Okay. Now, with regard to then on Sunday, December the 1st, when you arrived at the workshop, what was Chris doing?
Well, I was helping him make frames for this Honda sign that he has, and so we were cutting wood and measuring and
Hey,
putting
Eddie.
together that.
All right. So Chris was cutting the wood.
Yes,
He was using power
bandsaw, yeah.
All right. And you were helping him?
Yes, well, not with the saw, but no.
Okay. All right. Showing you what has been marked as states 166. Can you tell me, do you generally recognize what this is?
That is an area of the workshop, yes.
All right. And I want to call your attention to sometime while you were down in this space, Chris was working, you were helping. Do you recall hearing any unusual noises?
Well, we heard heavy dragging, heavy movement upstairs, which was out of the ordinary.
Okay. Well, you said it's out of the ordinary. Had you been in that workshop before on other
Oh, I
occasions?
do various times, yes. I would go over there often.
And during the times that you had been there before, had you ever heard noises like that coming from the upstairs?
No.
On this particular date, when you heard these heavy noises, what happened between
Jen, you are on it. You are calling it out. What do you think what are your thoughts on this other than what you said? You're calling it out, girl.
you and Chris?
Hey, Teresa.
Well, I think
Okay.
if I remember right, I mentioned something about it, and we were just trying to figure out what it was.
Okay.
Curious.
So, when this noise was happening, did Chris stop what he was doing?
Well, we were stopping intermittently with the saw and putting the stuff together, but you could still hear it from overhead.
And at some point in time, did Chris go back to working with his saws?
Yes.
And shortly thereafter, did you hear anything?
Yes, I did. I heard something like a banging, and I heard 3 bangs. They were sounded like a hammer or something, which I thought was strange because if they're, I don't know, I just thought it was strange. It was not normal.
Can you describe the banging that
Yes.
you heard?
They were like, and then a pause, and the last one was really hard, and the third one was a pause, and then a bang at the end.
Okay, so I want to be clear.
Hey,
You
Michael.
just sort of described with your hand on your table that you heard two bangings in close,
Yes. Yeah, and then a pause,
there's a pause.
and then a really big one at the end.
And what kind of a pause? Are we talking about, a second, 5 seconds?
Well, the first two bangs were like bang, 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 and then like bang. I don't know if it was a second, 2 seconds. I don't know.
Sure. But in your mind, there was at least a separation of some
Yes,
moment
definitely.
between the initial two and then the third one.
Yes.
So now, that we lost the stream. I did. Okay. Apparently, I'm having technical difficulties. The area that you heard this banging coming from. First of all, can you tell us where you were in this photograph when you heard that sound?
Let me see where the D is.
This D right here?
The D.
This
I was up. Yeah, stay to the right, but
Here?
up around, a little closer in, but I was around that area.
Where my pen is now?
Maybe a little in, a little, yeah,
This
around
way?
there. Yeah, around there. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Your Honor, my pen is on the right side of the photograph. There is an upside down D on a red sign, a white letter, and my pen is just in front of that sign towards the middle of the photograph.
Thank you.
And Ms. Picarelli, can you sort of localize for me where it is that you heard the bang?
Well, it's definitely coming from the ceiling.
The ceiling
This
where?
here. Like around where the fan going.
I'm sorry.
Where the fan is, the fan.
So somewhere over here,
Yeah, around that area.
Okay, where
It
my-
sounded like. Yeah, it was from the ceiling. Well,
right?
definitely the ceiling.
I'm just trying to ask you if you're capable of localizing it. So where I have my pen now is here's the ceiling fan.
Yeah, it was around in that general area.
Okay. So first of all, Your Honor, my pen there's a ceiling fan towards the top part of the photograph, and my pen is just to the right under what looks like to be a hydraulic or an air hose at the top of the picture.
All right, court will note it for the record. Thank you.
And so is that the area where you believe those banging noises were coming?
Well, they were coming out from the ceiling. Yeah, from the ceiling area. Yeah.
So is it fair to say, where is the bathroom? Where is the bathroom downstairs in this shot?
Okay. Where the ATC sign is, there's another hallway there.
Okay.
That's a hallway. And then there's the first door on the left is the bathroom.
So this ATC sign here,
Yes. Yes.
and is this the hallway entrance to the bathroom?
Yes.
So, again, if this is the hallway entrance into the bathroom where you had me direct, am I sort of in the same general area here?
Yeah, in this area up there. Yeah. Up there.
Thanks. I have nothing further.
All right, Attorney Gavin Cross.
Hi, Ms. Picarelli. How you doing?
Hi. Fine, thank you.
Thanks for being with us today.
Okay.
You ever
Yep.
testified before?
Hey, Julian.
You put a chapter in the book. You got
I
to
know.
come to court and testify, right? I just have a couple of questions with you.
It is, Linda.
You just saw Chris. Chris just testified, right? You got the carpool hopefully together?
Yes, we drive together.
That,
Yeah.
that's terrific. Now, if I understand correctly, and you tell me if you're wrong, the police reports indicate that you and your son Christopher went to the Ansonia Police Department to the lobby on Tuesday, December 3rd. Is that correct? If you recall.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a Wednesday or Tuesday. I don't know. But it was a couple days later.
Okay. Was it a couple of days after Chris had already spoken to the police?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. You talked to the police officers, correct? And you would agree with me that you weren't the property owner of 6.5 Myrtle,
I agree.
right?
I-
Okay.
yeah.
Chris and his wife
Carrie,
Carrie owned,
yeah.
right? Okay, that's great. So tell me, on Sunday, on the 1st, you testified that you were at the garage area that was just shown on the exhibit. It's still up there. And was that the afternoon hours?
Yes, in the afternoon. we
In the
were-
afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Chris had gone and picked you up at your home and went back to Aunt Sonia? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. And you were helping him?
Yeah, we've always done that.
Okay.
So it's not anything unusual.
No,
I always help him.
it's very nice. You helped him with woodworking and whatever he
Yeah,
was
whatever he needs. Whatever. And for an extra hand,
I'm sorry?
sometimes you need two people to do something.
Okay,
And
hold the tape measure at
I'm
both
the-
ends.
other person to do it.
Yeah, no, you're helping your son out, right? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, great. And let me ask you about what you just testified to. You said that when you were downstairs in the shop area, right, there's a 3-car garage down there. That's the shop area, correct? Okay. And you said that you heard 3 bangs. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And
Yeah.
can you tell us, I think you said you got there around 2 o'clock. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Around, yeah.
And you left around 4:30. Is that correct?
6, I said, I think.
You left around 6?
I don't know if we left. It was snowing out, so we left, and it was.
Oh, okay. If you don't, it's okay. Do you recall approximately what time you left?
5, 6, 4. I don't know, within an hour or that. I don't know.
Okay. Let's do it the
Lala said, I'm in and out doing DoorDash, but are you telling me this woman heard a murder being committed? Can you imagine? Right? Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that, but yeah, they heard it. And at the time, like, what would you think? If you didn't hear screaming going on, I mean, you would think maybe they were moving furniture, like she said. It's crazy to think about. I get it,
easy
Allie.
way. The banging that you heard,
Yes,
was it soon after you got there or just before you left or in the middle?
in the middle.
In the middle. Okay, that's fine. So you had gone to the shop with Chris, and some period of time went by, and then you said you heard the banging. Is that correct? Right? And do you remember going to the Ansonia Police Department and speaking to Detective Brian Hart?
Yes.
Yes. Did you know Detective Hart?
No.
Okay. And do you know who Detective Esposito
Right,
is?
Susan?
No. I mean, his name is probably. I only really spoke with Brian Hart, Detective Hart.
I'm just going to finish up here just with a couple of questions for you. The officers are going to come in and testify, so it's
Okay.
fine. Okay. But you went to the Ansonia Police Department with your son Chris, and he told the police officers that he had given them bad information regarding when he was at the garage.
Oh, well, maybe, yeah, because he said that he gave the wrong days, and I said no, because we had 2 Thanksgivings. Well, we had Thanksgiving Day, and then I made another turkey on Friday, and then whatever. But he was mixed up on his days and on what happened.
Yeah, and you went to the Ansonia Police
Yes.
Department with him to speak to the police officers. Good? Mm-hmm. Okay. And did you tell the officers that you never heard any screaming or yelling upstairs while you were there?
No, I did not.
Okay. You didn't hear?
I mean, I did not hear anything, and no, I did not.
Right. You didn't hear anything. Okay. Did you recall telling the police officers that you never had any contact with the upstairs tenants?
I've never met either of them. I've never met either of them.
Okay. And did you even tell the police officers you had never been to the apartment upstairs?
I don't know. I saw pictures of it. I don't know if I was before. No, I never really went up there. Or maybe I did, and I don't remember. But no, I had no reason to go up there.
Sure. Okay. My last question for you is, Do you recall telling the police officers that you had never been upstairs in the apartment?
No, that was 5 years ago. I don't remember if I
You
said
don't
that or
remember.
not.
That's okay. Thank you, Ronna. I have no other
Okay,
questions. Thanks for
okay.
your time.
Okay.
Nothing further.
Teresa, you're all, okay, you're all set. You're free to exit the witness box, okay? Thank you. Just watch your step as you exit.
Yes.
It's hard because it's been 5 years since the trial, so I mean, it's not. It's easy to believe they don't remember a whole lot. Good to see you, pretty sweet pea.
May I just see counsel sidebar quickly?
Oh, we're gonna sidebar, and they're probably gonna go to frickin' break. But if they do, we'll read some more of the Stearns. Like, you've literally been back 45 minutes. Excuse me. Who's he talking to in the gallery? I wonder. Yo, I'm telling you, even though he was smoking PCP, it had to enhance something that was already there. Like, I'm not believing that you smoked PCP and just, it was a bad trip, and so you decided to beat your girlfriend to death and remove her freaking brain. They're sidebarring, but I don't know yet. They better not. Yeah, they did lunch break. That's what we just come back from. I see evil in his eyes. I don't know if it's his brow line.
Witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's do a call.
Oh.
Jonathan Tressor to the stand.
Good, they're continuing. I think it's him. Right. And if if it's a traumatic event, like you find out a murder happened right while you were underneath, you could probably remember pretty good. I think it's him already because I think his eyes look evil, in my honest opinion. There's something there that was from before, and the PCP brought it out, in my opinion.
Good afternoon. Will you please step up into the witness box, remain standing. Madam Clerk will put you under oath, okay? Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
Clara
the truth, so
said
help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
him and Taylor should business and like that one.
Last name,
Yeah.
your badge number for the record, please.
Jonathan Tressor,
Tressor.
Tressper, badge number 45.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Y'all hear the rain? Basil trying to eat my notebook.
Yes.
Hey, Carolina. Yeah, PCP is like bath salts. It's what you could relate it to that everybody knows of nowadays.
Just tell me what numbers.
I thought we already heard from Officer Tressor. We did.
Your Honor, I've seen 168 and 169. I have no objection to their introduction. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. With no objection.
I would just
So one,
Is there two of them?
It's okay. Court will accept into evidence states full with no objection. 168, which appears to be a map, and 169, which is a DVD. Thank you.
good afternoon, Mr. Tressor.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you're currently employed by?
The City of Ansonia Police Department,
And how long have you been a police officer?
17 years and 9 months.
And what are your current responsibilities?
I'm currently assigned to the Detective Division.
And did you have to go through any training to be a police officer?
I graduated from the Waterbury Police Academy in 2007. Did field training with the department. I've attended other specialized training, such as DEA Basic Narcotics School. I served on the DEA task force for about 5.5 years. And then I did other training and experience, or other training classes ongoing annually, and regarding interview and interrogation and other training related to the Detective Division.
Now, were you working for the Ansonia Police Department on December 2nd of 2019?
I was, as a member of the DEA task force.
And what do you mean by that?
On the DEA task force, we are employed by the City of Ansonia Police Department, but we work outside the agency in New Haven under the task force, the federal task force.
So effectively, you were working in New Haven and not necessarily with the Ansonia Police Department at that particular time?
Correct, but I was still an Ansonia police detective.
Okay. So I want to direct your attention to an investigation that occurred on or about that day. Do you recall an investigation that was instituted on that day?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recall about that?
I had finished my normal shift at around 5 o'clock on that December 2nd. I got a call at home to respond to the police department where there was a report of a suspected homicide and a missing child. And I responded to the police department, and I was briefed on the case at that point, what details were discovered up until that point. At the time, when I responded to the police department, I was briefed by Lieutenant Froelich and Lieutenant Lynch, I believe, and there was information regarding a vehicle that had left the house on 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, and we had information that the vehicle was registered to a Jose Morales and that the vehicle was registered to a 105 First Avenue in New Haven.
So when you got this information, what were your responsibilities at this point?
At this point, New Haven PD was contacted, and they had located the vehicle parked in front of the residence in New Haven. Myself and Officer Nelson were assigned to go out to New Haven and to maintain visual surveillance of that parked vehicle, while other members of the agency and other agencies were gathering more intel back at the police department in Ansonia and at the original crime scene.
So, and did you in fact do that?
Yes.
And what happened after you did you maintained visual surveillance of the vehicle?
Myself and Officer Nelson relieved New Haven officers that located the vehicle. We sat in my unmarked DEA vehicle, and at one point I exited the vehicle before it started snowing too heavily, and I was plainclothes at the time. I walked past the parked vehicle, looked in it to see if there was a car seat base at the time, because that was a major concern of the missing child. At the time I saw a baseball bat in the front passenger floorboard, but there was no car seat or car seat base in the vehicle. We waited until about 3:40 a.m. on December 3rd until other personnel arrived on scene to make contact at the residence.
So how long would you say you were on surveillance that night?
I would estimate it was anywhere from 4 to 5 hours.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 53. Is this the vehicle that you saw that night at 105 First Avenue, New Haven?
Yes, it is.
State's 52, another angle of the vehicle. Again, is that the same vehicle?
Yes.
And 54, is that the vehicle that you saw that night?
Yes.
Now, when other detectives arrived at 105 First Ave, what was your responsibilities at that point?
At that time, we made contact with the assistance of New Haven PD, with the residents of the house. The male that opened the door for us and allowed us into the residence, his name was Marcos, let us in. We advised him while we were there. We were there to speak to Jose and also to look for the missing child, Vanessa.
Now, outside of that, did you have any investigative purpose when you were at 105 First Ave?
So when we were at 105 First Ave the first time, we we were looking for any evidence of Vanessa, obviously. After the Lieutenant Froelich and Detective Adcox at the time transported Jose Morales back to the police department for an interview, again, I maintained surveillance of the vehicle, and the plan was to wait until the family went back to sleep and the lights turned off, but that didn't happen, so we towed the vehicle around 5:40 in the morning, I believe, and I followed the vehicle back to the Troop I barracks in Bethany, and it was not touched or manipulated in any way on the exterior or the interior.
Now, at some point in time, were you present when there were when search warrants were executed on that vehicle?
On the following day, the 4th, I was present while the State Police Major Crimes Unit executed the search warrant on the vehicle. I did not participate in the search warrant, but I was there to maintain custody of the vehicle as they performed their search.
Now, after that search warrant was conducted, can you tell us a little bit about what else you did in connection to this case?
I had left the Troop I barracks and returned back to Ansonia, went back to the residence at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue to get the keys for the victim's vehicle, which was a black Ford Focus. The house was still being maintained by Ansonia police personnel at that time. I brought the keys out of the residence, and the vehicle was again towed to Troop I barracks and was not touched inside or out.
And were you present when was there a search warrant done on that vehicle as well?
Yes, there was.
And were you present for that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
After that warrant was executed on that vehicle, what else did you do in relation to this case?
Once both vehicles were processed, all the evidence that was seized from the state police, I transported back to the Ansonia Police Department. It was labeled and placed into the evidence room.
Now, after you did that, what else did you do in connection to this case?
On the following day, we had a report of information of items being recovered at the Kitchication Storage Facility in Hamden. There were items that were reported to have blood-like substance on them, and we responded out to the scene in Hamden, along with the State Police Major Crime Squad, who ultimately processed the evidence that was seized there.
Okay, and in addition to helping out, or I guess responding to Kitchication, is there anything else that you did in relation to the investigation in this case?
On scene at the Kitchication facility in Hamden, I conducted a few interviews with the owner, the truck worker that was with the truck driver, a few other employees at the building. We also obtained consent from the owner of the facility to access and search the Kitchication bins that were located in Derby and Ansonia that we knew were on that truck route.
And did you in fact go back and assist in that?
Yes, I was there present while the state trooper from Major Crimes processed both. There was 2 bins on Derby Avenue in Derby and 1 bin in Ansonia on Main Street.
And now, when you say 2 bins on Derby Avenue in Derby, where was one of the bins located? I guess one site of where the bins were located.
They were in a parking lot, I believe it's for St. Michael's Church, and it was the southwest corner of the parking lot, right in the corner by Bank Street and Derby Avenue.
Okay. In relation to this case, were you tasked with gathering any type of surveillance from the surrounding area?
Yes, based on the intensity of the crime and the amount of information that was coming in from all different sources, there was a group of different agencies, including Ansonia, Derby, FBI, State Police, that helped work together to try to obtain as much surveillance video as we possibly could. Over the course of the investigation, there's been thousands of hours of video that's been obtained. I personally have watched countless, hundreds and hundreds of hours myself, rewatched the same videos over and over again. But there was, some cameras and some information that would come in would lead us to further information to where to look for the next camera. So it was a lengthy process to continue to obtain surveillance video.
Now, when you were looking through this various surveillance cameras that law enforcement seized in relation to this case. Were you looking for anything in particular?
So at the point of this investigation, initially I was looking for a vehicle matching the description of Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra that was seen leaving the scene of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue after the officer's welfare check. As the investigation went on, there was information that led myself to look back into video for the victim's black Ford Focus. As we found out through phone data and other information that there were trips made to New Haven, and I didn't initially see the Nissan Sentra, but once the other information was developed regarding the Ford Focus, I was able to locate a vehicle that matched the description of the Ford Focus on the video.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 168. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Now, in relation to State's 168, can you tell us in this map of what is this 168? Can you tell us what this is?
It's a map of mainly Ansonia and part of Derby, Shelton, and on the legend, those are the cameras and their locations that were the most valuable to my investigation.
So, with regards to on the legend where it says crime scene 6.5 Myrtle Ave, it's a red. It looks like a red tag. Would that be in the area up here, pointing to the middle top portion of the map, where there's a purple, green, and red tag clustered together?
Yes.
And would this be the box, the closer up look to the right there, where the purple, green, and the red tag are located?
Yes, it would.
So this is the area of the crime scene. So 22 Cottage Street. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what 22 Cottage Street is?
22 Cottage Street is a residence. Cottage Street runs parallel to Myrtle Avenue, and there is a perpendicular street, Judson Street, that you could access the end of Myrtle Avenue through from Cottage to Myrtle Street.
So if I'm standing in the front yard of Cottage Street, 22 Cottage, and I'm looking straight, what am I looking at?
You're looking directly down Judson Place.
Okay. Now, can you tell us whether or not there was any video that was seized from 22 Cottage Place in relation to this case?
There were many hours of surveillance footage seized from the Google Nest doorbell cam of that residence.
And were you able to, and you reviewed that footage?
Yes.
When the footage was seized, were you able
Hey,
to
Cowgirl.
determine whether or not the footage was approximate to real time, or was it fast, was it slow, was it actual date?
I was able to determine, based on the fact that it's a Google Nest camera, that it is internet-based and it was in real time.
I want to direct your attention to 14 Mott Street, which is this green tag here, which is again in this box to the right. Can you tell us where 14 Mott Street is in relation to 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
So Mott Street comes off on a Y angle from Cottage Avenue. It's just around the block. It's very close to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue. There's no house on the property in between 14 Cottage Street and 6.5 Myrtle Ave. There's like an open lot there as part of the property, and the house had 3 camera angles on it, 2 of which looked directly up West Street to Myrtle Avenue.
Okay, so if I'm standing in front of 14 Mott Street and I'm looking straight out to the street, what would be directly in front of me?
You would see the intersection of West Street and Mott and Cottage.
So if I went all the way up West Street, what would be that cross street all the way up to at the top of West Street?
Myrtle Avenue.
Okay. And for these camera angles, are you able to see 6.5 Myrtle Ave from these camera angles?
Yes.
And do you know whether or not this particular was camera seized from 14 Mott Street?
Yes, surveillance video was footage was seized, I believe, on 2 different occasions from that residence.
And can you tell us whether or not, have you reviewed this footage?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us in reviewing the footage whether or not the footage of 14 Mott Street is approximate to real time, ahead, slow? What were your findings when you reviewed the footage?
Based upon corroborating the vehicles and the people walking and everything on the videos from 14 Mott Street and 22 Cottage Street, I was able to determine that the time was in real UTC time, which is Universal Coordinated Time, which is 5 hours ahead of our local time.
So when you were looking at this footage for the target vehicles in relation to this case, you had to look at, you had to subtract 5 hours?
Correct.
Now, I want to direct your attention to 2 Elm Street. That's the orange tag here in the legend, which is located in the center, just about in the center of this exhibit. Can you tell us what 2 Elm Street is?
2 Elm Street was the old Ansonia Police Department at the time.
And can you tell us whether or not you were able to seize any camera footage in relation to this case from the old Ansonia Police Department?
Yes, we were.
And did you review all of that footage?
Yes, I did.
And when in reviewing that footage, are you able to tell us whether or not that footage is approximate to real time? Is it fast? Is it slow?
That footage is approximate to real time.
Now, when you're at the old Ansonia Police Department, can you just give us an idea of what the surroundings look like, the surrounding streets look like?
Looking out from the front of 2 Elm Street, there's an island across, a triangular shaped island.
Julietta, hi.
Elm Street runs across the front of
I haven't said hi to you.
the police department. Looking off into the distance, going up the hill would be Platt Street. And Elm Street would continue off to your right,
Oh my God.
towards Main Street.
Yes, ma'am. Good to see you, Abellis. Aw. How sweet.
Now, 696 Main Street. This is the purple tag.
I'll look into it.
This is the call-out box, or the up-close box in the lower right-hand corner of this exhibit. Can you tell us what 696 Main Street is?
That's the Ansonia Shell gas station.
And were you able to seize any camera footage from the Shell gas station in relation to this case?
Yes, we were.
And did you review any of that footage for the target vehicles that you've mentioned in connection to this case?
Yes, I did.
And in relation to your reviewing of that footage, were you able to determine whether or not that footage was in real time, actual approximate to real time, or was it fast, or was it slow?
That footage was 11 minutes slow.
So when you're reviewing that footage, you had to take into account 11 minutes and speed it up, or at least look 11 minutes, or add 11 minutes when you're looking at the footage?
Correct. You had to add 11 minutes.
Okay. 4 Division Street, which is the yellow tag here. It just looks like it's just next to where the Shell gas station is. Can you tell us what that is?
That is Maria's Hair Gallery, which
And,
is in Derby.
What is, how close to the Shell gas station is Maria's Hair Gallery?
Directly across the street.
And were you able to seize any camera footage from this establishment?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to review that footage in relation to this case for the target vehicles that you've mentioned?
I did.
And in reviewing that footage, were you able to determine whether or not this footage was off in by any way?
That footage was in approximate real time.
Approximate real time, okay. And just as a point of reference, this blue tag here with the I, which is located just south where, just above where it says East Derby. What is that tag?
That is the location of the Kiducation donation bins.
And would that be in the area of St. Michael's Church?
Yes.
In relation to this case, were you able to seize any video from 273 Derby Avenue?
Yes, we were.
Okay. Now, that's the dark blue or black tag right here, just south or just below where the purple and or the dark purple and yellow tags are?
Correct.
Give me one moment.
Your Honor,
Sorry,
I
let me
wonder
hear
if
Gavin.
Mr. Joseph could just slide it over a little bit, because you're referring back to the identification box, but we can't see it on the screen. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's perfect.
You got it?
Thank you very much.
All set?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. So, again, where my pen is pointed here, the dark blue tag, that would be 273 Derby Ave?
Correct.
Were you able to seize any video from that area?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to review that video to the best that you could for any target vehicles that you think would be connected to this case?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And were you able to determine if that was accurate time, or was it too fast or too slow?
I didn't obtain that video personally, so I believe it appears to be in approximate real time,
Okay.
but I could not confirm that.
Hey, Becky.
And finally, directing your attention to this light blue tag here, which would be
I hope you feel better, babe.
535 Main Street, just above the orange tag in this exhibit. Can you tell us what that is?
That's Auto Repairs Unlimited.
And where is Auto Repairs Unlimited in relation to the Shell station?
It's less than a half a mile away down Main Street, on the corner of Main Street and Father Slemmy.
And were you able to, was law enforcement able to seize any video in relation to this case from that establishment?
Yes, we were.
And did you review that video footage yourself?
I did.
And were you able to determine whether or not that video footage was approximate to real time, or was it fast, or was it slow?
I obtained that video footage myself, and it was 17 minutes slow to real time.
Okay. Now, in connection to this case, you said that you reviewed hundreds of hours of video looking for target vehicles, right?
Correct.
And what were the target vehicles in your mind?
It was the Nissan Sentra, silver in color, had a loud exhaust that was, noticeable on any of the videos that had sound recording, and the other vehicle was a black Ford Focus.
Okay. Mayor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you what the Martha States Exhibit 169. It's a full exhibit. Do you recognize States 169?
Yes, I do.
And what is States 169?
That is a CD containing a video montage that we worked together on to condense all of the videos that we deemed important and relevant that contained video footage of the suspect vehicles. And I initialed that disc to show that I had, reviewed it before.
Testifying today?
Yes.
Okay. And in relation, in creating this video, does this montage have, I guess, notations in it regarding each particular video and whether or not it's on approximate to real time, fast or slow?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to play this for the jury.
Sure, how long is the video?
15 minutes.
About 15 minutes? Why don't we do that and then take our recess? Thank you.
Both cars were there when they initially did the welfare check, but I think when they found the body, his car was gone, if I remember correctly. I want to see where they talked to him. I want to see that video. Where they talked to him at his parents' house. After this video, yeah. We'll read more of the Stearns documents.
So, one more question before we play the video. So, when you did the video montage in connection to this case, is this video from the entire weekend of November 29th through December 2nd, or what portion of the weekend did you focus on?
The first and the second.
Thank you. Now, Detective Tressor, what video angle are we seeing right now?
This is a video from 14 Mott Street looking across the intersection up West Street towards Myrtle Avenue.
Okay.
That's a distinguished muffler, which they said he had, so we know it's him. Says, damn, I didn't get to read it. Car scene.
When you were looking at this video, on all the videos, what in particular were you focusing on with regards to the defendant's vehicle?
I was looking for passengers or other identifying features of the vehicle, as well as other items that may have been in the vehicle at the time, such as the child that we were looking for.
In relation to the car itself, though, in addition to the loud muffler,
Hey, Tony.
You have some video that doesn't have audio. Visually, what were you looking for?
I knew it was a Nissan Sentra, an older model. It had a low-hanging exhaust that was visually defective as well as loud audibly. Had a sunroof, didn't have tinted windows, and it had specific Nissan stock wheels on it.
Do you recall whether or not there was a front license plate on the vehicle?
It did not have a front license plate.
Is that something that you would have looked for?
Yes.
Now, in relation to this video, part of the video here, 273 Derby Ave, was this slowed down?
Yes, it was.
For what purpose was it slowed down for?
The vehicle was traveling at a rather high rate of speed going past the condo where it was being videoed from, and we slowed it down to try to identify any identifying features on the vehicle.
The DA questioning him right
Would
now.
this be going towards
Tanya?
or away from St. Michael's Church?
That would be going towards St. Michael's Church.
And would this be going towards or away from St. Michael's Church, this view?
Away from St. Michael's Church.
And if you get to the end of the street here, is there a traffic light at the end of the street?
Yes, there is.
And what's the intersection at the end of this Derby Avenue here?
That'd be the intersection of Derby Avenue, Division Street, Elm Street, and Main Street, Ansonia.
And this would be the Shell gas station?
Correct.
Hey, Trailgazer.
Now again, is this is the Shell gas station? Would this be? Is this the 11 minutes off?
Correct.
Okay, so if we're looking at the time and date in the corner, this would be December 1st, Sunday, December 1st, 2019 at 6:18 a.m.
Correct.
Oh, wow. Becky said some guy in Law and Crimes chat claimed to go to high school with the defendant and said PCP was his drug of choice back then. I believe it. So we're going to get to see him come into the Shell gas station that early morning and see what he looks like. If he looks, like a football bat. Looks normal. Huh. He did do his card wrong. Rubbing his belly. Looks like a normal transaction, but I can tell he's a little messed up. And now I'm going to offer cash instead because there was no money on the card, I guess. Yeah, it is amazing how much weight he's lost. Good questions, Jen. He pulled up in the no parking area. He was driving slower than that truck was. He looked that way. He was a little bit fucked up.
Again, this is still the Shell station?
Correct.
He's driving so slow. Yeah. I'd say he's a little messed up. In my opinion. Car seen leaving the Shell gas station from the Maria's Hair Gallery camera.
Yes.
Approximate to real time?
Approximate to real time, yes.
Oh, there's the car right here. You see it? Oh, you can't see my mouse. Hold on. Right here, you see it? Now it's pulling out. Yeah, he was driving slow. He was messed up. Car travels south on Main Street towards Auto Repairs Unlimited in Ansonia. Camera is approximately 11 minutes before or
That's
behind.
another Shell station video right there?
Yes.
He just drove by right there. Car travels down Main Street, turns right on Father Seldom Drive in Ansonia. Camera is approximately 17
This
minutes
is the
behind.
Auto Repair Unlimited video?
Yes, it is.
Car turns onto Judson Place from Cottage Street at 6:25 a.m. Sun's starting to come up.
So if you're going down Judson Place right now, this car just took the right from Cottage. Myrtle Ave would be where?
It would be on the right-hand side.
Uh, car, I couldn't catch it. It was too blurry. He was up all night. That loud ass muffler. Car seen traveling. That's all I could catch. Does he come back? Heck yeah, he did. Went the wrong way, I guess. Car seen traveling on Cottage Street, turning onto Judson Place at 8:25 a.m.
You just saw the Mott Street camera. Um, Is this the car coming from Mott Street towards
Correct.
Judson Place?
Afternoon of Sunday, December 1st, 2019. Car is seen traveling down West Street on the main street. Car turns onto Judd Place from the area of Bott Street in Esodia at 1:09 p.m. It is Jib. That somebody come into the house, punched him in the face, and he blacked out. Doesn't remember anything because of the PCP.
Now, this
Black
next
car.
part of the video is going into Monday, December 2nd. You said one of the target cars was Christine Holloway's car?
Yeah, it was a recently purchased black four-door Ford Focus.
Okay.
So this is Christine's car, 4:09 a.m. Monday morning.
Now, in relation to that clip that we just saw at 4:29 a.m. on December 2nd, were you able to, you had information from call detail records with regards to the coming and goings of certain handheld devices at this point in time?
Yeah, so the information regarding Jose Morales' cell phone and Christine Holloway's cell phone, there were trips that were made out to New Haven. And based on that information, I went back and reviewed the video to find what appears to be the black Ford Focus leaving and coming back at 2 times on the morning of the 2nd.
This is West Street. That car just went up West Street?
Yes, that's West Street, and it's taking a left onto Myrtle Avenue and stopping right there where 6.5 Myrtle Avenue is.
stop sign, the vehicle that you were focusing on?
Yes.
Now, in connection to this investigation, were you aware that there was a welfare check
Yes, I was.
at 6.5 Myrtle Ave? Okay. And the footage we're about to see is the welfare check from December 2nd?
Correct.
And that would have been what, do you remember what officer that was?
That was Officer Chris Kelly.
Would that be the officer at the top of Myrtle Ave there, crossing west?
Yes.
Is that hail? Some pretty houses. Cars seen leaving Myrtle Avenue, traveling on Judson Place toward Mott Street at 1:49 on the 2nd of December. Sunday, December 1st, 2019.
Attorney Gavin, is this a good time to break, or?
That would be great.
All
Thank
right.
you, ma'am.
We're going to stand in our 15-minute afternoon recess. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll resume in 15.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this up on my phone. Hold on just a minute. Let me pull this up on my phone and, oh my gosh. All right, now let's read through some of the Stern's report where the district attorney claps back at the motions that Stern's attorneys filed to prohibit the seizure, search, and Google Drive information. And get us a background. Do purple. All right. If you want these documents without the watermark, they can be found on my Patreon. Let me write down the time real quick. It is 37:33. Okay, sorry, I had to write it down to do the chapters for you guys. Alrighty, so we were on page 6. Let's not be finicky. All right, so we had just went over the conversation that Detective Tangler had with Stefan, talking about, is it okay if I go through your Google history? Can I check your Google phone? What's on your drive and all of that, right? Let's scroll down. He says that he splits his time between his dad's house and Jen and Maddie's house. Says Detective Acosta inquired as to whether the defendant and Jennifer Soto went anywhere to look for Madeline the night before on February 26, 2024. The defendant denied knowing whether they went to look for Madeline anywhere because he had taken an Ativan the night before because he had been so worried. Detective Acosta then went through the details of the directions for the route that the defendant claimed to have driven to take Madeline to school. The defendant went through this discussion again, but this time included timeframes. Detective Acosta then indicated that the defendant's vehicle was not where he indicated it was, according to the traffic cameras in the area. The defendant then indicated that he went back home because he forgot his gate clicker. At 7:53 p.m., Detective Tangler handed the defendant his phone back. Immediately after handing the defendant his phone back, Detective Tangler stepped away from the defendant. Detective Acosta stayed with the defendant, and they continued speaking. At 7:57, Detective Tangler returned and had the following interaction with the defendant. Detective Tangler said, "Can you unlock this one more time, please?" Stephen said, "Sure." She said, "I have a question." He said, "Yeah." She said, "Sorry. Are you guys done? The other detective mentioned that you did not have your phone yesterday." He said, "Correct." She said, "Tell me about that." He said, "I left my phone home in the morning too. I was so busy writing her or Maddie to get us out the door on time that I left my phone. She left her phone. We both left our phones." Detective Tangler said, "Did you have your phone on you when you went to the smoke shop?" He said, "Not the first time after I dropped her off. I was still without it." "Ugh, I got it. I got my phone and went back to the smoke shop." She said, "Okay." He said, "Later when I got home." She said, "Okay." She said, "I also noticed I was checking your call history. I noticed you don't have anything before this morning. Is that usual on your phone?" He said, "Ugh, no, it's a new phone. Stupid. I went to do an update yesterday morning. And I don't know what the fuck, pardon me. I don't know what the heck I did, but somehow during the massive OS update, I managed to factory reset my phone and lose all of my contacts, all of my information." Detective Tangler said, "Uh-huh. And what time was that? Do you remember? He said, oh, sometime while I was hanging out with Jen. Jen might know. I looked at her and said, what did I just do? Detective Tangler said, okay. He said, she might know better. I don't know what time it was. It was when I was here with Jen. Detective Tangler said, okay. I don't think I have any other questions. At approximately 7, Stephen didn't want his whereabouts tracked. Yeah, no doubt, Nessa. At approximately 7:59 p.m., Detective Tangler advised the defendant that law enforcement was going to hold onto the defendant's phone. The defendant was told that he would receive it back, quote, when we are done, unquote. It was at this point that the defendant's phone was seized by law enforcement pursuant to this investigation. On February 28, 2024, at approximately 12:16 a.m., Detective Tangler and Detective Acosta conducted a second audio-recorded interview of the defendant. During the beginning portion of this interview, Detective Tangler advised that law enforcement had been going through Madeline's cell phone and noticed a lot of conversations between her and the defendant. Detective Tangler asked the defendant to advise what type of relationship he has with Madeline. The defendant stated she, quote, thought of me as a dad, thinks of me as a dad, unquote. Less than a minute into the conversation, Detective Tangler has the following exchange with the defendant. Detective Tangler said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Your phone. I told you that I was going to hold on to it and that we would like to download your phone, right? He said, okay. She said, is this something I have your consent to do, or do I need to get a search warrant for your phone? He said, it should be fine. Detective Tangler said, you're okay with us going through your phone? He said, yeah. She said, okay, can I have the pin to your phone? He said, 42586. Detective Tangler, 42586. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. He said, Law and argument. Consensual search of the cell phone during the interview on February 27th, 2024. Warrantless searches are per se unreasonable pursuant to the 4th and 14th Amendments unless there is a recognized exception to the warrant requirement. They cite Ferrier versus State from 2002, Katz versus State, United States from 1976. Consent is a recognized exception of the warrant requirement. The standard for measuring the scope of consent given under the 4th Amendment is objective reasonableness. Citing Florida versus Gimeno from 1991, the state has the burden of showing by clear and convincing evidence that the defendant's consent to search was freely and voluntarily given. They cite Norman versus State from 1980, Bailey versus State from 1975, Saginaw versus State from 1956, and Taylor versus State from 1978. For a search to be deemed involuntary, the court must find that the defendant's will was overborne and his capacity for self-determination critically impaired. Citing Cox versus State from 2008, quoting Scheckenkloth versus Bustamante from 1973. Detective Tangler conducted an interview of the defendant on February 27, 2024. The interview began at 7:16 p.m. and lasted approximately 44 minutes and 24 seconds. Present during the interview was the defendant, Detective Tangler, and Detective Acosta. The interview occurred outside the residence, which had been secured pending a search warrant at the time. The defendant was not in custody or handcuffs. During the interview, the defendant gave consent for Detective Tangler to view different things on his cell phone. The defendant's cell phone was password protected. During the interview, the defendant entered the password to unlock his phone and provided it to Detective Tangler. Detective Tangler specifically requested permission, which the defendant freely gave to explore maps, history, settings, and determine whether a Google account was attached. The defendant was present during that time. The defendant was present during the time that Detective Tangler was viewing his cell phone content. At no point did the defendant attempt to withdraw the consent he had given Detective Tangler. Later on during the interview, the defendant unlocked the phone a second time. This interaction between Detective Tangler and the defendant was consensual, and any information that Detective Tangler observed during this interaction was lawfully obtained. Seizure of the cell phone. The defense heavily relies on United States versus Place from 1983 in support of their argument that the seizure of the defendant's phone was unconstitutional. In Place, the court was faced with whether the 4th Amendment prohibits law enforcement from temporarily detaining personal property on the basis of reasonable suspicion. Law enforcement in Place detained the defendant's luggage for the purpose of a, quote, sniff test, unquote, by a trained narcotics detection dog. The dog was utilized approximately 90 minutes after initial detention and alerted to the presence of narcotics. Law enforcement obtained a search warrant 3 days later. The court's analysis was based upon a seizure pursuant to reasonable suspicion. In determining whether the detention was permissible, the court must, quote, weigh the intrusiveness of a limited seizure on the individual against society's interest in detection and prevention of crime, unquote. The court also identified factors that the trial court should consider when making this determination. One, the duration of the oh goodness. Okay. One, the duration of the detention. Two, its intrusiveness or degree to which the person's process possessory interests are interfered with. Three, the diligence with which the officers pursued their investigation, seeking a warrant promptly and communicating with the suspect about the specifics of the detention, and four, the government interest or law enforcement purposes served by the detention. They cite United States versus Babcock from 2019. This is the analysis when the detention is based upon reasonable suspicion alone. The court in place also stated, quote, where law enforcement authorities have probable cause to believe that a container holds contraband or evidence of a crime but have not secured a warrant, the court interpreted the amendment to permit seizure of the property pending issuance of a warrant to examine its contents if the exigencies of the circumstances demand it or some other recognized exception to the warrant requirement is present. They cite Arkansas versus Sanders from 1979, United States versus Chadwick from 1977, Coolidge versus New Hampshire from 1971. In the instant case, the item seized by law enforcement was the defendant's cell phone. The Supreme Court has interpreted the Fourth Amendment to allow a warrantless seizure when law enforcement can show both, one, probable cause to believe the property contains contraband or evidence of a crime, and two, an applicable warrant exception such as exigent circumstances exist. United States versus Babcock from 2019 is what they cite, and Jefferson versus State from 2023. He was very confident in that accidental factory reset. Like he legit thought he erased everything. Probable cause to seize the defendant's cell phone. The first prong in the analysis for the court is to determine whether Detective Tangler had probable cause at the time that the defendant's cell phone was seized. The seizure of the cell phone occurred at approximately 8 p.m. on February 27, 2024. Probable cause, quote, merely requires that the facts available to the officer warrant a person of reasonable caution in the belief that certain items may be useful as evidence of a crime. It does not demand any showing that such believable, correct, or more likely true. Okay, hold on. It does not demand any showing that such a believable, correct, or more likely true than false. I don't understand that sentence. A practical, non-technical probability that incriminating evidence is involved is all that is required. And they cite State versus Darter from 2022, citing Texas versus Brown from 1983. Probable cause only requires, quote, a substantial chance, unquote, that there is evidence of criminal activity. They cite Babcock from 1983. The courts have also found that a, quote, substantial chance exists where the facts within the collective knowledge of law enforcement officials suffice to cause a person of reasonable caution to believe that a criminal offense has been or is being committed and that evidence of that offense will be found in a particular place, unquote. They're citing Babcock, Gates versus Kohler from 2018. All right, we're back at court. So, hey, guilty of crime. Good to see you. Okay, so we're back at court. I'm going to pull it back up. They're sitting down right now, I do believe. Sorry. Okay, hold on. Let me pull this up because it's not wanting to play. So I don't know if I'll get a chance to read any more of that today before we finish for the day, because hopefully she's not going to come back to court and be like, oh, I got to go. Forgot about that thing I had to do. Okay. I think we want to be about right here. Okay. So I will put out a video reading those documents as soon as I get them read through and edited and things. You can find them on my Patreon. I'll tell you a secret. You can also go to the Osceola Clerk of Court's website and find it there too for free. Shh, don't tell nobody. She might have the squirts again. Lord of mercy. All right, so we're at 151.
Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We are ready to proceed. Counsel, please stipulate to the presence of our jury.
State will stipulate, Your Honor.
All right, we're all set. Attorney Gavin, are you ready for cross? You may proceed. Thank you.
This should be interesting.
Good, yourself?
Great. Did a lot of hard work in this case.
There was a lot of hard work.
All right. I have all the police reports, so I'm just going to run through chronologically with you what it appears, the efforts that you took as part of this investigation. And we start off on Monday, December 2nd, and I think you said at that time you were primarily assigned to the DEA task force. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and you wouldn't have been assigned to report out of the Ansonia Police Department when you're on the task force, correct?
We do get called in for major cases.
Right, but in your normal affairs, you're working with the task force. You're not going to the Ansonia PD Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, that is correct.
Right, okay, all right. So you're doing your job at the task force on Monday, and I think you told us you got contacted to report to the Ansonia Police Department. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you went down to the task force. Do you remember what time you got there? Approximately. I don't need the...
My hours at the task force are 9 to 5.
Okay, so it would have been after you were after the task force.
When I responded to the police department, yes. I got the call around 9 o'clock at night.
Okay, so 9 to 5 at the task force, went home or did whatever you did, and then you got a call about 9 p.m. On Monday night?
Yes.
Okay, and then you reported to the Ansonia Police Department, and then at the Ansonia Police Department, you realized or were told or you were advised that there was an ongoing investigation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then do you know who Officer Nelson is?
Yes, I do.
And who's Officer Nelson?
Officer Brendan Nelson, he's a junior officer to me.
Okay.
Works for the police department.
At the Ansonia Police Department,
Correct.
right? And he was involved in this investigation as well, correct?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so I think you told us that the first task that you had was, after reporting to the Ansonia Police Department, was to go ahead and travel the 105 First Avenue in New Haven. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the purpose was to check on some vehicles there. Is that correct?
Correct, to locate Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra.
Okay, that was your charter for that evening on Monday evening, was to find Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra.
Correct.
Right, and that's the Nissan Sentra we just saw in all the videos, the montage.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Sure, yeah, and you went there and you got there in the evening hours, correct?
Yes, late evening, going into the next early morning hours.
Okay, and did you go up to the residence at that point, or did you and Officer Nelson just sit and wait once you discovered the vehicle?
We sat and waited in the car, just maintained visual surveillance of the vehicle.
Okay. And you didn't want anyone to move the vehicle or drive away with the vehicle, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I think you told us at one point that you had actually walked down to take a look into the vehicle from the exterior of the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And was it snowing heavily at that point?
I believe it was snowing on and off at the time.
Okay, great. And how long were you there with Officer Nelson before other brother and sister officers arrived?
I don't know the exact time of our arrival in New Haven, but the other officers arrived around 3:40 a.m.
Okay, and that was people like Detective Adcox and Detective Froelich and other brother and sister officers from the Ansonia Police Department.
And New Haven Police Department as well.
And New Haven, because you had alerted them that you were there to go ahead and observe the Nissan Sentra.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, right. And then about 3:40 in the morning, officers approached 105 First Avenue and made entry voluntarily into the home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you go in then?
I did.
You went into the house with, I'm going to pick on him, Detective Adcox or Detective Froelich. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when you got into the house, did you observe that Mr. Morales was there?
He was called up from the basement.
Okay. Well, it was 3:40 in the morning, right? People were asleep at that point?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it'd be fair to assume at 3:40 in the morning. Withdrawn. You went into the house. You met Marcos Garcia, you told us, correct?
Correct.
His stepfather, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you met his mother, did you not? Lydia
Yes.
De Jesus, right? She was there as well. And at some point, Mr. Morales, I think you just said, came from the basement and went up into the living room, kitchen area of the home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at that point, was Mr. Morales under arrest?
No.
No. Was he asked to go voluntarily to the Ansonia Police Department to be interviewed?
Yes.
And did he agree to voluntarily go to the Ansonia Police Department to be interviewed?
Yes.
Okay. And I take it, well, did you go with him to the Ansonia Police Department, sir?
No, I did not.
Okay. You stayed and continued to secure the vehicles. Is that correct?
Correct. Myself
Okay.
and Officer Nelson.
All right, great. So Mr. Morales left from New Haven, went up to the Ansonia Police Department. You didn't go, and I think you told us, correct me if I'm wrong, that at some point in the early morning hours, a tow truck would have come, would have secured the Nissan Sentra, and would have taken it to Troop I in Bethany. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay, and you observed all of that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And by the time that did you travel with the car all the way up to Bethany?
I did. I followed it.
Oh, okay. So now it's probably past daybreak at that point or close to it, correct?
Yeah, I believe it was 5:40 when we towed the vehicle from New Haven.
5:40 in the morning, okay, and then had to go all the way up to Bethany.
Correct.
Okay, so that's Monday. What did you do in regard to the investigation on Tuesday?
The following day, I responded to the Troop I barracks, and my presence was there while the CSP Major Crimes processed the Nissan Sentra.
Great. Can you just tell us what you mean by major crime process, the Nissan Sentra?
Yeah, so there was a search warrant for Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra that we towed there, and Connecticut State Police Major Crimes Unit was the one that executed the search warrant, processed the evidence, sealed the evidence on scene, which was later turned over to myself to transport to the Ansonia Police Department.
Okay. And I know you were on the task force, but it's not unusual in major investigations for local agencies like Ansonia to call on the Connecticut State Police to assist. Is that fair?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Not on a shoplifting charge or a speeding ticket, but on serious investigations. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they're available unless they're out on another scene, correct? Yeah?
To the
Okay.
best of my knowledge, yes.
All right, so they processed the car, you're up there, you're just sort of observing that you're not actually doing the processing, correct? On the
Correct.
Nissan Sentra. Okay, and what did you do next at that point?
I left the Troop I barracks, traveled to Ansonia, to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, put on personal protective equipment to enter the residence, which was still under maintenance by our officers there for the active search warrants, and went into the residence to obtain Christine Holloway's Ford Focus key,
Okay,
and then that vehicle was towed to Troop I barracks as well.
great, okay. And when you say the property was secured, 6.5 Myrtle I'm talking about, the property was secured, you went in to get the Ford Focus key, that's the black Ford Focus, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that residence was secured, meaning that the public couldn't go in there, or anybody could go in there at that point, correct?
Correct. It was an active crime scene still.
Active investigation, correct? Yeah. And you told us that search warrants had been granted to go into 6.5 Myrtle at that point, correct?
Yes.
And was there also a search warrant for the Ford Focus?
Yes, I'm not sure exactly what time the search warrant was signed, but
And you were able to retrieve the keys for the Ford Focus?
yes,
Okay, from inside the residence is 6.5.
correct.
Okay, and what'd you do with the keys?
I transported the keys and followed the tow truck, which towed the vehicle to Troop I.
Okay, and was the vehicle processed at Troop I at that point?
Yes, it was.
Okay, had they completed the processing of the Sentra?
Yes,
Okay, and then now the Ford Focus had shown up and you had the keys so we could start the car and get in the locked vehicle, correct?
yeah, they processed it the same as they would any other vehicle.
Great, and you observed that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then there appears to be a notation that you and Detective Brian Hart started to interview neighbors in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue. Is that correct?
This
Hi,
is on
Cora.
the same date.
Yes, sir. It looks like it was on December 3rd.
Hey, Janet.
at
Bye, Cara.
6:26
Good to see y'all.
p.m.
I'd have to see my report exactly to see who was interviewed, but
Okay.
it sounds about right. At that time, there was a lot going on, so we were breaking off in different directions constantly.
Okay. I respect that and I understand that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just, obviously, we had the Ford Focus issue up to Troop I. You didn't go home after that. You continued to assist in the investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And do you recall when, I know it's 5 years ago, do you recall whether or not you went ahead and assisted in regard to a canvass in the neighborhood at that point?
I have to see my report to see exactly what I did on that evening after I transported the evidence back.
If you don't recall, it's okay.
I don't recall off
Yeah,
the top of my head.
That's okay. All right. Now, let me talk to you about Thursday now on December 5th, okay? All right? I think you testified that you arrived up at the Community Crusade for Children, the Kid Education Facility up in Hamden. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you go up there with any other brother or sister detectives?
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head who else was there, but most of us in the Detective Bureau responded there.
Okay. All right. So
Froggy, good to see you. I'm glad that you came to hang out.
let me just ask you this. If you recall, what was your responsibility when you went up to Hamden to Kid Education?
Once we arrived there, the main priority was to make sure all the evidence that was coming off the trucks, possible evidence coming off the trucks, was secured. The facility was basically secured, the entire facility, until major crimes arrived on scene. They processed the facility for any evidence.
Right. And when we say we processed it, I'm just going to go a little quick here. That means that Connecticut State Police, major crime came, and they went through all the bins and all the bags, and they notated the evidence, and they cataloged the evidence. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have to do any of that?
We did. We all took part in some of the searching of different areas based on the large amount of clothing and shoes and other stuff they called trash that was there. So we did participate in some of that.
In the search, but you weren't cataloging evidence item 47, 48, 49, 50. That was Connecticut State Police that did that?
Correct.
Okay, great. And were you there all day?
A large portion of the day.
Okay. Do you recall, sir, taking custody of Jose Morales at some point and bringing him to the Ansonia Police Department to execute the body warrant?
I recall that incident, yes.
Okay, just tell us in your own words what happened in regard to the body warrant.
So on December 3rd, after Jose Morales was transported for the voluntary interview at the police department, he was transported back to 105 First Avenue. A search warrant was obtained for 105 First Avenue in New Haven.
Yes.
Upon execution of the search warrant, myself and another officer located electronic
Yeah, overprotected.
defense weapons, stun guns,
Yeah.
within Jose's bedroom pursuant to the search warrant.
Yeah.
He was a convicted felon at the time when we looked it up. So I contacted my connection at New Haven Police Department.
I'm just asking you about the body worn. Did
Well,
you
this,
take him?
this all led up to the transport of the body warrant.
Let me withdraw the question. Wasn't there a body warrant, a search warrant executed by a judge of the Superior Court, Judge Pearson?
Yes, there was.
Okay, and you took Mr. Morales in custody and you went ahead and executed the body warrant, is that correct?
He had to be transported to a place for the body warrant to be
Right, and that was the Ansonia Police Department.
correct. But he wasn't in custody for that purpose. At the time, he was in custody for the stun gun.
I understand, but you transported him for the execution of the body.
Badger
warrant.
the witness.
Lawful authority to go ahead and inspect his body, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you there during that?
I did not stay for the body search warrant.
Okay, you just transported him up to Ansonia PD
Correct, myself and Officer Castillo.
and Officer Castillo from New Haven up to Ansonia PD, and then you didn't stay around after that?
I don't know if I was still in the facility, but I wasn't present while the state police conducted that search warrant.
Okay. You don't know whether, or do you know whether the Ansonia PD or state police executed that warrant?
I don't know off the top of my head. I wasn't involved in it.
Okay. Let's see if we can move on. After the body warrant was executed, there were a number of search and seizure warrants that were authorized by a judge of the Superior Court to go into 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And did you participate in any of those searches?
I believe I was there for one of them.
Okay. Okay. And what was your responsibility for the one that you were there?
To search for the items that were listed on the search warrant. I believe at that time it was items related to the missing child investigation.
Okay. Sir, did there come a point where you started to review the surveillance videos, that some of which we saw in the montage?
Yes.
When was that?
I can't exactly recall when I first started, because every time I would get a chance and video would come in, I would start trying to view it, and then we'd get called to education or
I think she's on her phone.
other topics. The first video I did watch was Officer Kelly's body worn camera, and that would have been on the second, prior to heading over to the residence at 105 First.
Okay. Was it significant for you to go out and other brother and sister officers to see if you could obtain neighborhood surveillance video to see if there was any indication that the Nissan Sentra, the Ford Focus, was in the area 6.5 Myrtle?
In these types of investigations, large-scale investigations,
Yeah.
one of my top priorities is always to go out and not specifically look for any particular vehicles, but to save and secure any available surveillance video that may be out there so it doesn't get deleted or destroyed.
What did you do to secure any video that it wouldn't be deleted or destroyed?
So when we find video,
No, what did you do?
what did I do?
Yeah.
I went to different locations, Derby Avenue, Auto Repairs Unlimited, Main Street Shell Station, for example, and those videos were copied to thumb drive to secure them.
Okay, so let's just take the Shell gas station, for example, okay? Did you go out there and obtain that video? We saw it in the montage that was admitted.
So Officer Castillo had first went to the Main Street Shell gas station to try to obtain the video, but the manager wasn't there. I went as a follow-up. I wasn't familiar with that system, and at that point I called Detective Sergeant Froelich at the time, who was at the command center,
Okay.
and members of the FBI responded to help download that video footage.
Okay. I'm just sort of asking
Okay.
in general because we know, and we're going to play the montage again. Not with you don't have to worry about that. But we're going to play the montage again. But there were certain locations where video was obtained, like on Derby Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Auto Body Unlimited, correct?
Correct.
Maria's Hair Design,
Yes.
correct? By the way, before I get too far, on Derby Avenue, were you able to recover any video of the Morales vehicle at St. Michael's at the donation boxes?
No, I tried.
Tried but unsuccessful?
Correct.
Okay. So, as the investigation continued, you wanted to go ahead and collect video to see if there was anything of evidentiary significance. Is that fair?
Correct.
And you did that, correct? Okay. Now, then did there come a point where you accompanied,
Online class.
I believe it was Detective Adcox, to the New Haven Correctional Facility to interview Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Objection, this is outside the scope.
It's part of the investigation.
Well, I mean, it is outside the scope. I'm gonna ask the jury to step out.
Oh, here we go. Well, she's done shopping for toilet paper. Now we get to hear them argue. A little bit of excitement, I suppose.
So, Attorney Gavin, it is outside the scope, it seems, to the court. Why don't you tell me your call on this?
I have two questions left. The last things that my records indicate that the officer did was he accompanied brother and sister officers to the New Haven Correctional Facility on 12/30 and also on 12/12. Those are my last two questions. Just part of the investigation. I'm not going to go into what happened in the interviews or anything like that.
Okay, why can't we hear? Thank you.
What's the relevance?
Part of his investigative efforts.
All right, so you're not going to go into anything regarding the investigation at this time at the corrections facility?
Oh, no, that's Detective Adcox.
All right, so relative to his conduct as part of this particular investigation, I'm assuming it had something to do with this particular part of the investigation, is that correct?
With regards, well, just so we're clear, what part of the investigation we're talking about?
Right.
On December 12th and also on December 30th.
Hey,
he
oh,
went
look,
to
a
New
squirrel.
Haven, Correctional where Mr. Morales was interviewed. He didn't conduct.
I don't know who was smacking gun. Wasn't me. I don't have any
Right,
gun.
so Attorney Gavin, I'm just trying to stay within the confines of my order if the purpose to go there was pursuant to investigating the disappearance of Vanessa Morales subsequent to Mr. Morales's arrest with respect to this particular part of the investigation, then that may or may not be opening the door. I don't want to do that. So if you want to provide the court some clarity.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I didn't hear what you just said, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
So I said to provide some clarity because if we all know the scope of the court's order, I don't have to repeat it, right?
Right.
So if the purpose in going for those particular interviews was for this investigation or this part of the investigation, then that's one thing. If it had to do with follow-up relevant to the disappearance of Vanessa Morales, we're not going to bring that before this jury. So and that was at your request, counsel, so I just want to make sure that we're all clear on this before we start opening doors.
Your Honor, to answer your question directly, Mr. Morales wasn't arrested in February.
Okay.
So the investigation that led to his ultimate arrest was ongoing.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into any details in regard to what happened there because he didn't conduct the interview. It's just part of his investigation that he went there on 2 occasions. Those were the last questions I had.
All right, I just wanted to make sure it was not subsequent to the arrest in this matter and it was not solely related to the disappearance of the child. You can understand why.
Sure, and I agree, and I appreciate that because that was my request. But this officer, I think, will testify that he didn't conduct any investigations up there. I believe that that's factually accurate.
All right, so as it relates to this particular investigation, the fact of the matter that he actually went to the corrections for the purpose of being an alongside for an interview, I don't have a problem with. But there was nothing asked about the interview. I don't want to get into that. That is definitely outside the scope.
And he couldn't even answer because he didn't participate.
That's fine. Then I'll allow those 2 questions
So I
limited
guess
to one.
my other question is, how is it relevant then if he didn't participate, right?
I guess it's just to show what he did relevant to this investigation. He has been asked about his conduct relevant to this investigation. So we've already allowed questions about canvassing the neighborhood, which was also outside the scope. So I'm going to allow it as it relates to the investigation, just the fact that he did those 2 things as an assist. And other than that, I'm not going to allow you to get into details. Okay? All right. So subject to those limitations.
I feel like the state would be at a disadvantage, though, Your Honor, if the question was asked, because on redirect, if I said, well, why did you go to?
Well, why don't we play that out right now? Attorney Gavin asked the question. Thank you.
Oh, here we go. Hey, Hio.
Questions for you. Do you recall going to New Haven Correctional Facility on December 12, 2019 with Detective Tressor and, with you, and Sergeant Folish?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall going to the New Haven Correctional Facility on December 30th, 2019 as well?
Based on my recollection, I was there the
Right.
second time.
I'm not going to ask him this in front of the jury, but just for purposes of the proffer. You didn't conduct the interview with Mr. Morales, correct?
I did not.
Yeah.
So my question would be, why did you go?
What was your purpose in going?
So when we conduct investigations and interviews, generally we go in pairs. We don't go somewhere by ourselves. So we go either in pairs or 3 of us travel together. Depends on what the crimes are, where we're going, just in case other assistance is needed.
I'll allow it. It doesn't seem prejudicial to the state. It's not outside the scope, and it doesn't get into any of the details of the interview, which this particular witness did not take part of. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep it limited to that proffer. And is there anything else that needs to be heard?
You.
No?
I have no other questions for the boss.
All right, so we'll bring the jury back in. Thank you.
We missed you too, Hio. It's good to see you today. I hope everything's going good. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, everybody in our chat's sick or injured, so yeah, you might want to grab your mask. No doubt, Hannah. Unfortunately, our poor chat. Michael said, judges Google history. When do I sustain? When do I overrule? Best bathrooms in Connecticut. Is there a minimum amount of court mandate before recess?
Return of our jurors.
So funny.
All right, so the objection was, it was overruled in part, sustained in part. You will hear an answer to the question. Why don't you re-ask the question, Attorney Gavin?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Detective Tressor, last question for you, sir. Okay. Do you recall, as part of your investigative efforts, going to the New Haven Correctional Center on December 30th, 2019?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
What the?
Attorney Johnson, nothing further. All right, very good. Sir, you may step
What
down.
was all that about then if you're not even going to ask him the damn questions in front of the
All right, so, ladies
jury?
and gentlemen, we are going to adjourn for the day.
Oh, of
You will be
fucking
going
course
home
we
to
are.
inquisitive people, and I am
Wow.
going to give you a little bit more of a detailed instruction right now because you do have the weekend.
Well.
So I will just let you know that this case has been heavily monitored by social media, so it will be on the news. I'm sure there'll be some sort of coverage on social media as well as
That's it for
regular
today.
media this weekend. I would ask you to please avoid any publicity about this case. Remind you of your obligation, of your oath. People will want to ask you questions as well as tell you information about this case if they know that you're serving on a jury and they have any idea that it is this particular case. You are reminded that not only are you to receive any information, you're not to provide any information to anyone relevant to this case. So should you happen to come across anything, please turn your back away from it, your attention away from it immediately, and move about your day accordingly. Other than that, we do anticipate coming back for evidence here. I'll ask you to report at 9:30 on Monday. I did tell you that I would try to keep you advised as to our schedule, so I will keep my bargain on that. It looks like we'll be hearing from more state witnesses on Monday, Tuesday, and maybe Wednesday at some point in time next week. I do anticipate the state will rest its case in chief, and then if the defense decides to present any evidence, we will get into the defendant's case in chief next week. However, please be reminded, the defendant is not compelled to present evidence. They don't have to present evidence in this case. So that remains a little unclear, but that's where we are in terms of a timeline and what to expect next week. If the defense does present evidence, the state will have an opportunity to present additional evidence in rebuttal if it so chooses. Okay, so we are on track, and I can maybe say optimistically a little bit ahead of where we were when I first told you 4 weeks. Okay, so I think maybe a little sooner than 4 weeks, but I won't make any promises at this time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all Monday morning at 9:30. Thank you. Court stands adjourned.
Okay, well, that's it for this trial until Monday, but I will be back tomorrow at our normal time, which is 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. Lord, like, it's only 4:30, ma'am. Write down my time. Yeah, I think it's like 4:30. My computer clock is wrong, and I don't know where my phone is, but it's like earlier. Yeah, 4:23. Yeah, 4 weeks. I'm going to tell you now, if they're going during the hearing of Stephen Stearns on April 23rd, we will not be watching this that day. We will be watching the motion for all of the documents that I've been reading. So with that, I suppose I shall go for the day. I will see y'all 1:30 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Get some rest. Love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know I'm doing trials. It's long and extensive, so I do appreciate all of you being here and hanging out with me. If nobody has told you today, you are important, you are special, and you are loved. And I really appreciate y'all hanging out and all the support and all of the great chat, because y'all, I love our chat. Y'all are amazing. And I would not be able to do this without you guys. I would not be here. I would be talking to myself. So I would be nothing without you guys. Thank you for making our channel great. And with that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.